Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me, your host, Tommy Gilberts, as we sit down and take a behind-the-scenes look into Titan athletics with weekly interviews with coaches and athletes. This is Titan Table Talk. Hello once again, Titan fans, and welcome inside the Ames Library podcast studio for week 18 of Titan Table Talk here in 2023 and 2024. It is a packed slate for you today. In just a moment, we're going to welcome in Mike Eastman, senior from the men's volleyball team, to be followed by Avery Smith from women's track and field. Whatever men's basketball coach comes through the door at 1:30 today, and wrapping up with Ava Bardic from women's basketball. First, happy to welcome our first men's volleyball student athlete in this year, Michael Eastman. Good to have you on.
Thank you. Yeah, glad to be here.
And congrats on 4-2 start to the season. Getting to play a lot more matches at home this year, hosting a couple tournaments, the Tri last weekend and the bigger tournament coming up this weekend. Mm-hmm. Started with a match against Aurora at noon on Saturday, a 3-0 sweep, 26-24, 25-18, 25-15. 17 kills for you in that one, hitting 483 for the three-set program record in kills. Added 4 digs, aces, and assists too. Bryce Williams, 12 kills in that one, hit 500, held the Spartans to 164. Give us your thoughts on that victory to open the Tri.
Yeah, that was a big one for us. It was a match we really wanted to win. That's a team we hadn't beaten the previous 3 years yet, and someone we were really looking to take it to. So we did everything we could to prepare for the game, and we came out and executed really well and played as a unit, and we're super excited about it. So yeah, it was a great match overall for everyone.
It was one of those, I was across the building, I didn't see any of it, and then I looked at the live stats an hour and a half later, I was like, oh, it's over, and it was a sweep. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And you start to see those little steps, and then, a little bit of a setback in the afternoon against Trine. I think, not to speak for you guys, but I think maybe going into that, thought Trine would be the slightly easier opponent than Aurora. Turns out Thunder won it 3-1, 25-20 in those first two sets. Titans came back, got that third set, 25-20, and then it was all Thunder in the fourth set, get out to that 5-0 start and cruise to a 25-12 win. Double-double for you there for the first time this year with 17 digs, in particular a big defensive performance. What did you guys take away from that one that didn't obviously go quite as you hoped?
Yeah. I mean, it just shows you that you have to take every match seriously, and everyone's here to play this year, and you don't take anybody lightly, because it'll bite you if you do. And I think it'll be a good learning opportunity for us, and we'll look back on that one and know we probably should have had it. But at the same time, we can take enough away to progress us for the rest of this year. And looking forward towards conference, we will be more ready for those matches because of it. So
better to have the trip-up moment in an early season non-conference match than one that's going to be further down the line in March.
Definitely. It's all about building up towards March and learning everything about us as we can, and just using all that to play our best volleyball at the end of the season.
Yeah, so when we look back now at these last, 3.5 years or so for you in this program, I want to take you back first to, finishing up high school at St. Ignatius, and obviously a very successful athletic program here, very successful academic school, but a team that was just starting a men's volleyball program for the first time. Yeah. What was it that first made you think, okay, I want to be part of this, I want to be part of something that we're going to start here at Illinois Wesleyan?
Well, Wesleyan was actually kind of one of the last schools that I took a look at, and I always knew, I was looking for the kind of smaller school atmosphere, and not too far from home. I'm on the south side of Chicago, so just about 2 hours was perfect for me. And when I met Coach a few times before I had committed, and he was a great guy. He really sold the school to me, showed me what it had to offer, and I felt like he was a guy I could put my trust in to really build this program into something great. And it's an interesting decision looking back on it, but I think it was the right one, because I always thought it would be really cool to lay the kind of groundwork for a program, not not many freshmen get the opportunity to walk into a program with 12 people or 11 people that are the same age as you and take it from there. So it's been a super cool experience. We've gotten to play against a lot of high-level teams from the CCIW especially, and we've grown a lot, learned a lot, and had a ton of fun so far.
Yeah, and that is one of those interesting parts too. Is that the CCW very strong men's volleyball league at the top, and so you get a lot of, we're going to face some teams that we should be able to beat in the early part of the non-conference slate, but we're going to be challenged big time as we go through the conference and as we start to be ready to schedule some tougher non-conference opponents too, and see where you stand against teams that have won national titles in the last couple of years in the conference. So
I honestly. The CCIW being so strong in men's volleyball was not something that I was completely aware of when I decided to come here and play. But I think it's been super great for our program, knowing that we're in one of the top kind of conferences in the country in our sport. And it's really pushed us to be the best team that we can be, and knowing that there's always going to be multiple teams in our conference that are going to be really, really good is something that we have definitely learned about a lot. We've learned from ourselves, and playing a team like that freshman year and playing a team like that last year and this year, it's completely different experiences with how you approach that match and kind of what you're thinking about. And a lot of people don't get that opportunity, so for us to have that for multiple years has been huge for us.
Absolutely. So when you look back at, when you say 14 of you walking in the door, however exactly many it was as a freshman year, you're almost starting in a little bit of that, quasi-captaincy role as a freshman, and now 3.5 years later, it's largely kind of the same little core group that's the leaders of the team.
Yeah.
It can obviously be a little bit of a disadvantage your freshman year, but I think I've seen it in a couple other sports. It's a huge advantage by the time you get to senior year because you know how to lead and you've been doing it for so long. And aside from the obvious, more players, more higher end recruits, some better competition that you can actually go up and have a real chance against. What are the biggest differences that you've seen in the program as you've gone from kind of year one to year 4?
Yeah. Honestly, really, from year to year, it's just a different kind of way that you approach everything. Freshman year, we're, just walking into most matches and most practices, honestly, just, all right, let's see what we can do. We're going to work on everything we can. We're going to get better, and we know we're going to take our lumps, especially in some of those high-level matches for CCIW, and we just kind of, it's like that you're walking in not expecting much and just looking to see what you can do. And, there was a match freshman year where we took one set off of North Central.
Yeah,
and
I remember it vividly, yes.
Yeah. And so we lost the first 2, won the third, got crushed in the fourth, and then we went to the locker room and celebrated like we won the game. So that's a whole different approach to this year where we're walking in, where North Central is just, they're a high-level team that we want to go in and compete and hopefully win. And, it's completely different from back then.
Yeah. So one of the most exciting things I'm going to guess that you've gotten to do in your 4 years is that Italy trip that you guys went on over winter break. Any fun stories you want to share from that one?
Yeah, it was a great team bonding experience. We got to do a lot of cool stuff, see some really cool places, and I had never been out of the country myself, so that was super cool experience just being out in a different place. But we got a lot of time we spent a lot of time with each other and with coach, and there was a night in the hotel lobby where we're just kind of sitting around and talking about how far we've come, and that was a really cool night to kind of hear coach's perspective about how he felt when we were kind of getting this whole thing started. I mean, I told him that to kind of hold my perspective, that I would never forget that the night that I called him and told him that I was going to commit, because I was the first one, and I just remember being like, all right, well, I mean, this is the right decision, right? And to my parents, and they were like, I mean, call him. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just call him. But so yeah, we talked about that night, and I got to hear from Coach's wife how excited he was, and that was just a really funny moment for me to hear that from him. But yeah, we got to play some really high level matches over there too. There was a team we played. The guys were all way older than us, and we walked in like, okay, this is interesting. But yeah, we put together a really nice match, and we didn't win, but we learned learned what we could do this year from that match. And yeah, it was a super cool experience for all of us.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you what I think is the same thing I asked Coach Mueller when he was in here a couple weeks ago. I really don't remember for sure. Mm-hmm. But favorite thing you ate over there and favorite place you visited?
Well, we visited Como, which is like a smaller kind of city, and we visited that in the beginning, and I really liked it. But then towards the end, I realized I really liked Como because it was really laid back, and we went to Rome too, and Rome was hectic. We had to get back to our bus through this big parade, which was kind of a nightmare. But yeah, Como was a really cool place. We went up to this kind of mountaintop, and we're able to look over Lake Como and see just a different country from a really cool view, and so that was a cool experience. But favorite thing I ate, it's hard to say. Oh, well, we went to Tuscany, and we were on this kind of farm, and we did like a pasta making lesson, and then they put together this however many course meal for us. That was really awesome, and I think I've had the best just pasta and meat sauce that I'll ever have in my life. So nice. I don't think anything will beat that unless I go back.
Hey, you can still some
yeah,
days.
That's
been
true,
out of the
that's
country
true.
once, you can always do it again sometime in the rest of your life. So.
Pasta and meat sauce, super simple, but when you do it like the Italians do, it can be really good. It can be really good.
Yeah, I'm betting if you do any sort of pre-tournament pasta dinner this weekend, it will not live up to those expectations. I don't think, but
not at all.
So come on out to the Shirk Center this weekend. Check out the Titans in action, IWU Invitational, 4 of them within the span of 24 hours. 4 p.m. against Wisconsin Lutheran Friday, 8 p.m. against Adrian, and then turning right around Saturday morning, 10 a.m. against Edgewood, noon against Wabash first serve. Titans are on the road Tuesday night, which is probably tonight if you're watching this right when it's published, up at Illinois Tech. Good luck in 5 matches coming up this week, Michael, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back with Avery Smith.
Why is Illinois Wesleyan the #1 school in Illinois for jobs? Maybe it's because we're the AND University. That's right, A-N-D. And here you can explore the arts and study in a pre-professional program, double major, and play a sport. Do an internship and study abroad. Your opportunities are endless. Tap or click now to explore Illinois Wesleyan and start your free application today.
Welcome back inside the podcast studio. We are joined as our second guest by Titan senior runner Avery Smith. Avery, welcome aboard. Congrats on a good start to your season so far. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
So it's amazing. Like, we're already close to the end of indoor track season here at the beginning of February as we're filming this, and your last indoor track season as a Titan. A couple of home meets in the rear view this past weekend, multis on Friday, of course, and then the big Keck DIII Select meet on Saturday. 11th place finish in the 60, 800. Team was 5th overall in a very tough field on both the men's and women's side. Mm-hmm. A lot of personal bests, several times that rank in the top 2 or 3 in the CCIW, top 25 in the nation that we'll get to in a little bit. But first off, as a team, how'd you guys feel about this weekend?
We felt pretty good. Going in, like, the competition, it was tough. We knew it was. And we kind of went in, like, let's, like, go out there and see what we can do. And, like, I think we performed so well. And I'm really, like, the performances, like Imani, Adriana, they, like, blew it out of the water. And it was so fun to see. And the energy was really good because of how packed Shirk was. I love it when Shirk is that packed. It really just, like, fuels you. And even though like I just ran the 60, like that's a shorter race, the shortest, like having all that energy in there and like the whole team being there, it's just my favorite. So
yeah, and I'm standing out there, early Saturday morning with Huff, and he said 600 some athletes at the meet, and then when you throw largely parents, families, friends in the stands above that, it creates, even in a big space, it's a really, really cool atmosphere.
Oh, for sure.
I think back, hosting the CCW indoor meet last year, and just obviously I don't get to be at a lot of the, the big end of season championship meets, given that we're finishing our season at the same time, and I actually got to see most of that one. It's just like, you're there for half an hour, and then you're like, okay, we got another 3.5 hours, but I'm not leaving. Like, it's too exciting. And just when you've got, I think part of the thing that makes that atmosphere so different than some other sports is that when you're running the 4x1, whatever it may be, and you've got teammates, 3 inches from you on the side of the track, and not 3 teammates, like your entire team cheering you on. It's pretty incredible. It is.
I love it.
And it's fun to be able to get that at a mid-season meet and not just a championship,
too. For sure.
But you reference Imani again in the triple jump, 11.7 meters, ranks 12th in the nation right now. Adriana's mile, 5:01:35, 24th in the country. Isaac Whitaker in the pole vault, 19th in the country after a 4.71 meter jump this weekend. So a lot of exciting stuff for sure. Personally, how do you feel like the season's unfolded for you so far?
So far, there was a little hiccup in the road. I had a small injury, but we're on the way back, and Saturday was my first meet back. And I came back, and it felt good. I didn't lose much, and I'm really excited to see where the team's going to go. I feel like the girls this year, we have a lot of talented athletes, have it be like returners, or we have a big freshman class. I'm really excited to see what we can do, not only indoor but outdoor. I'm really excited.
Yeah. It'll be here before we know it, that's for sure. As we come down to these last 2 meets, Titan Open kicks off at 10:45 a.m. on Saturday, and then Friday night try once again at the Shirk Center on the 16th, and then already February 23rd and 24th indoor conference. So do you know for sure, as we're building back from the injury, what you're going to be running at the conference meet, or is that still a little up in the air?
I'm usually, in the past years, I've always been in the 60 and the 200, but this year, I'm really trying to be in that 4x4 relay. But honestly, whatever's best for the team at that point, that's what I want, and we'll see. But I'm really excited, nonetheless.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one of the things, when we talk about a bigger freshman class coming in, is that isn't always the case when you have a coaching transition. It can be, it can be a leaner couple of years at the time.
Yeah.
That is one of the perks to having it set up now, where you have 2 head coaches, and we were missing Coach Shue dearly around the building this year. The stability of having Coach Lauder and Coach Huff there, as well as your incoming, of course, head women's coach in her first year this year, not being much of a newcomer to Wesleyan at all. Can you tell us a little bit about how that transition's going from you as a senior perspective, as run for Coach Shue for the last 3 years and now working with Amelia?
Seeing Coach Shue leave was put a little damper on my heart. It was sad, and I miss him. But having Amelia there is awesome. I love having her. She's always so positive. I never see her without a smile on her face. And what's my favorite is that she'll do workouts with us. It's one of my favorite things. She went and ran hills with us during preseason, and you don't see that with a coach, I feel like. So she's really involved, and I'm so glad we have that energy there on the team. And so far, that it's just been so positive. It's such a good environment. So yeah.
And I was trying to remember this timeline right before we went on the air here, whether you would have had Amelia as a coach at all as a freshman. You said she was one who recruited you.
Yeah, she gave me the tour around Shirk. She recruited me, and funnily enough, my mom remembered her on senior day. She was like, I know you. And I was like, yeah, you met her 4 years ago. It was really funny, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Well, that's good to hear, and I know, that was everybody's expectation coming into the year, was it was going to be a great fit on the staff and with everybody else, and both obviously very, very well loved human beings around the athletic department, and about as smooth a transition as you could ask for from someone who'd been here for close to 3 decades as a pretty beloved human being himself. What are the odds that Amelia can still beat most of you guys in the runs?
Very high.
Okay.
Very high.
Thought that might be the case, but wanted to get it on the official record.
Yep, it's here right now.
just to make sure, yeah. So when you think back to when your current head coach was in walking you around campus as a GA, and you're finishing high school up at Naperville North, what was it that really drew you ultimately to Illinois Wesleyan as a school?
Honestly, it was Coach Shu. I loved his demeanor, his attitude, his calming presence. I really that's what I was looking for in a coach at the time, and going in with such I had no worries because I knew I was in Shu. He had me, and we were good, and that's what I was looking for. And the academics too here. It's such a great school. I've loved it. All my professors, everything. I've had such a good support system through that. And yeah, I mean, our campus is beautiful too, honestly, out of all the CCIW schools. I always compare it back to here, and I'm yeah, our campus is the best, so.
I'm not going to argue with you, so.
But yeah.
2 weeks ago when I was walking out of here and was trying to take, 1 foot long step at a time because of the ice, I probably could have taken a pass on it that day, but every other day, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm good with, yeah. So the really important question is, have you ever been so scared by Coach Huff that you've had to jump more than 2 feet off the ground?
Yes,
Okay.
many times.
Okay.
He loves to scare me when I'm working at Shirk at the desks. He'll pop out behind me, and I'll, quite literally shoot up from my chair multiple times.
This is, if there's any future Illinois Wesleyan track and field recruits out there who stumble across this and watch it, the Shirk Center desk job is a great one.
Yes.
I would maybe bring a little rear view mirror type thing so that if Coach Huff is around.
Just in case.
Might be the victim of a not top 10 video at the Tommy Awards somewhere down the line. Not that that's ever happened to any of you guys or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So looking forward, now that we're a few months away from graduation. Mm-hmm. Any idea what we might want to go on to do in the future? Or is that still kind of open-ended?
It's open-ended right now. I know I want to eventually go into the coaching realm for collegiate track and field, but as of right now, I'm just searching for grad schools, and we'll see where I end up, but that's the plan right now.
Very nice. Well, I want to wish you the best of luck next couple weeks coming up, and then, of course, CCW Indoor Meet February 23rd and 24th. We'll be cheering for you guys, certainly both at the Shirk Center and from afar. And if you want to come out and catch the Titans this weekend, just make it a doubleheader with men's volleyball. Why not? 10:45 start for the Titan Open on Saturday. See you there. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
They say inside every challenge is an opportunity. At Illinois Wesleyan, you have the power to seize that opportunity. Discover the tools, the mentors, and the experiences to take on any challenge and shape not just who you are, but who you will become. The best college in Illinois for jobs is right here. Tap or click now to start your free application and break through at Illinois Wesleyan University.
Welcome back inside the podcast studio. We have 2 distinguished guests from the men's basketball staff. Is distinguished the right word?
No doubt about it.
I think
yes.
so.
I would agree.
Andy Etheridge and Liam Thompson. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to see you for the first time this year on Titan Table Talk.
Thanks for having us, Tommy.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And maybe we'll start this off with the slightly less fun portion of the interview. Just 1 game last week and then the bye on Saturday. You've had not a real difficult time during some of these CCW games and have pulled out a lot of exciting victories at the end. The last minute against Millikin gave it the best shot down at the Griswold Center, but as you're going to be good for several times a season, tough road game in a tough conference. Takeaways from really the first blip on the screen here in 2024?
Yeah, it's a good reminder of how competitive and how difficult it is to win the CCIW, right? And so a ton of credit has to be given to Millikin. They made it hard all night to get good shots. They're well coached. They play incredibly hard, and it was a back and forth game most of the night, and 2 teams that were playing really well defensively, and unfortunately just wasn't able to get it done. And yeah, on to the next one. You know what I mean? Fortunately, got a few more to play after that, but a ton of credit to them. They made it hard, and time to bounce back and get back to what we were doing before.
Yeah, I felt like I didn't know if I played a little part in that with Nick and Trey last week. We were sitting here talking about, even if you have an off shooting day, if you go in and hold somebody 60 points or under, you can rely on your defense and you're going to win those games 90% of the time. And that was the first thing I was thinking about when I was watching the last minute of that game on Wednesday night. So our apologies on behalf
So we can blame you. That's good to know.
I prefer that you didn't. But I wanted to at least own up to that in case one of them ever, mentioned that conversation happened last week. It was a nice game for Luke Yoder, certainly 20 points, 7 rebounds. And when you talk about a day where shooting was not on, Millikin was playing tough defense, 27-21 at the half, probably toughest half offensively of the year. And you talk about still being in that game in the last minute. That is a credit to the defense, and that is, if you want to look at it that way, held the Big Blue to 36% shooting, and that's, it's in many ways been the strength of this Titan team all year, has been a consistent and really, over the top effort on the defensive end so much. And you at least see that show up consistently on a night when nothing else was going right, basically.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of our identity this year has been, like you said, shots aren't always going to fall, but every single time we step on the court, we can control our effort defensively. I think there's no saying that, your defense travels when your offense can't, and I think we've been able to really hone in defensively and say, even if we don't have it offensively, but we're going to stay in the game and play really hard defense because that's going to be able to help keep things close and in our favor.
And you saw it right at the end of the game there. It was 57-49 with under a minute to go. That's a W in the books for the Big Blue right there, they're thinking, and had 2 chances at the last minute thanks to Trey Bazell's steal on that inbounds with just under 10 seconds to go. Had a tough look in the paint for Marco, and then you kind of have the last second prayer of a 3 from the corner, but you had 2 real looks there generated by the defense and generated by making sure you keep that pressure on. So at least little things there to hang your hat on, I think, from a coaching perspective.
Absolutely. And I think credit to our guys, right? It was a long night and difficult night and obviously frustrating at times, but even late when there was a little bit of separation, the guys were locked in, right? They were wanting to execute what we were trying to draw up or talk about or wanting to get done defensively. So I think the guys deserve a lot of credit in that last minute and a half, whatever it was, to they stayed locked in. They were engaged in trying to execute to give us a chance, and they did. You know what I mean? We had a couple opportunities, and so little things like that will help us moving forward and only help us get better from there.
Yeah. So the big question before we turn our attention to next week is what'd you do with the off evening on Saturday? Just sit there and watch a bunch of other CCIW basketball, or maybe just step away for a little bit at least?
It was a recruiting weekend for both of us. Yeah, we had some time off. I got to hang out with my family a little bit and the kiddos, but we had a couple guys we wanted to see play on. I was out Friday night and Saturday, so yeah, we were still had a little time off, but still out there trying to get better and do a little recruiting. So.
Yeah, I think it's. I feel like we've been going 24/7 since almost October. So I think having those 2 extra days built in has been not just great for our players, but as a staff too, because I think it's able to just kind of reset ourselves mentally and hopefully focus up for these next 4 games that we got coming up. So I know for me, I kind of took the day just to relax, deep breath and check into my parents who get mad when I don't talk to them. So I was able to do that and catch up with some friends and things like that. So for me, it was a pretty kind of calm, easy bye week.
Yeah, a loving shout out to Mom and Dad here on Titan Table Talk.
Doubt. Mama T.
Yeah, she's the best.
Love it. So turning our attention to this coming week, the bye on Saturday, anything but a bye coming up in these next 6 days. 2 games against Elmhurst here at home on Wednesday, 7 p.m., and then heading up to Carthage and Kenosha, 4:15 tip on Saturday, or half an hour after the women's game concludes. Sitting at 10-2 in the conference, Elmhurst 10-3, Carthage 8-4. This next week will go a long way to determining if we have a chance to host coming up in a couple weeks and where exactly that, hopefully earning that bye in the first couple slots. But as you look at, preparing for these teams the second time around that have really been, the 3 of the 4 preseason favorites, along with North Park, which got out of the gate slow, but has picked up the pace certainly since then, and have really largely been the top 3 teams in the standings for most of the season. Obviously seen them both once. How do you prepare for them the second time around now that you've got a lot more film and a lot more experience dealing with this year's squads for the Blue Jays and the Firebirds?
It's a good question. Elmhurst is unique because they were they might have been the first CCIW game back in early December, maybe late November. And so,
I think they were, yeah.
And so you prepare for them at that time, and there's been so much time between when we last played. It's not like these past couple weeks where you've seen them within the past couple weeks and have played them and kind of have familiarity with the guys. You kind of go back and review personnel and see if that's changed a little bit in terms of who they're playing and minutes and breakdowns like that. And then obviously figure out, okay, are they running similar things? Obviously most teams add as they go throughout the year. And so there's going to be new stuff to pick up on and review and talk about. So Elmhurst is a unique scout in that sense. You're kind of starting from the beginning. And fortunately, I think the bye week helped with that and allowed us to have a little bit of extra time to talk about them and just start preparing a bit early, not too much, but just a little bit more. And then Carthage is, we played them just a couple weeks ago in an intense battle at home. For us, it's about focusing on Elmhurst and doing what we have to do there. But then, fortunately, we have a staff that's absolutely wonderful and working ahead to start make sure there's any adjustments and things like that for them. So there will be tweaks. Both teams will tweak and adjust and try to adjust our attack, a little bit different, I imagine. So just being ready for those and trying to think through what they might do and how we want to tweak it as well.
Yeah. When you talk about, the wonderful men's basketball staff that we're so fortunate to have here, you've got yourself and Ron full-time, Liam and GA, and then a great crew, probably the best you're going to find of your volunteer and part-time assistants as well. How do you guys split up in between, film and scout and other, obviously, recruiting duties are going to be handled more by you guys, but how do you split up the game prep duties specifically in a given week?
Yeah, so in the beginning of the year, we have a schedule layout of all of our games, and Andy and Coach will kind of go through, map out who's got scouts and so on and so forth. So kind of how it would work is, if say Andy has the scout for Wednesday night's game, then I'll have a scout on Saturday. And then sometimes, like for instance, we played Carolyn Wheaton, and those were teams that I had on back-to-back days. So we'll have Coach Block or Coach Wheat, they'll step in and they'll help out, and they'll take a scout to kind of ease off of our shoulders a bit, not having to have so many scouts in a row. And that's kind of the way we've done it. I think it's good because you don't get we don't burn out Coach Etheridge here having consecutive scouts every single time. And, I'm fortunate enough to be in my GA position where I hope that they trust me with scouts and having that duty, which I take very seriously. And, I think that experience of the film and the scout is fun. And that's kind of how we break up and kind of divide and conquer. So that's what we do. I think it's been pretty successful. So.
Yeah, I think there's so many things, when you're showing up to a game and watch it on a Wednesday or Saturday night. I think if you've been around the sport a long time, you appreciate everything that goes into it behind the scenes and all the little things that go into, coaching decisions that you're making mid-game or pre-game in terms of how you're going to defend a certain player or a team. But you don't appreciate sometimes the time that it can take sitting there trying to keep yourself awake at 11:30 at night, hoping that your 4-year-old doesn't wake up screaming in the other room and all that good stuff.
Been there before.
I wasn't directed directly.
Never say not talking to me. Not talking to me.
That would be an Andy,
right.
Not a Liam.
Yeah.
So Katie Gonzalez obviously put me up to this last question last week with the two gentlemen.
Boy, yeah.
I don't remember what Nick and Trey's answers were, but we can go back and research.
They struggle to count is the issue there.
Is it the same question?
Let's find out.
I think Andy knows where we're going with this.
Yeah, no doubt.
In a typical week in season, how many bags of chips, how many bottles of Mountain Dew are consumed by Andy Etheridge?
See, Trey answered it well. The number has gone down because we won some ball games this year. Less stress. Do I enjoy a good snack every now and then? Absolutely, I do. 25 is a ridiculous number, and would probably be passed out somewhere if that was the case. So
that's up
that's up there. Coach T can attest. One a day is a good number for me. because things are going well right now. You know what I mean?
And he'll also sprinkle in a Dr. Pepper here and there.
Every now and then.
It's
A variety.
He's mainly he's a do guy.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's I would say one a day. Yeah.
Let's not make this losing thing a habit, though.
Yeah.
Get it worse.
that might creep into 2 a day. Might go to 3 a day. But
So, Trey needs to figure out how many days in the week there are. And that's a big old number now. I enjoy it.
Got like 17-day weeks there.
Yeah, no doubt. It's like, all right, that's a big old number, Trey. So, I enjoy snacks. Everybody who ever needs a little snack, you know who to call.
I will say, when you're on the golf course with Andy, and I will admit the same is true for me, but there's plenty of stuff you can find squirreled away in the bag. That's for sure. Some of it is from a couple weeks ago, and some of it's from
all depends.
Not as recent. I certainly haven't found any long expired beer nuts in the bottom of the bag where the water balls are or anything like that. That's never been seen. But what can we say? Here's my goal for towards the end of the season is that one of these days you're going to walk in, and I don't know if you can see it on the cameras in here, but there's a giant whiteboard on the wall of the podcast studio behind our two guests right now. And we're going to have a line graph of consumption of chips and Mountain Dew by Andy with W or L marked along the bottom, and we're going to see if there's a relationship there.
Coach Thompson and I have talked. We're going to get better this semester, and then I've said that before. And then it usually doesn't work. And then Coach T kind of makes fun of me, but I am who I am.
That must be the first time.
I embrace it. So, yeah.
That's funny.
Well, everyone out there, if you want to catch the Titans at home this week, your chance is 7 p.m. against Elmhurst to battle the top 2 teams in the CCIW. Once again, Titans at 10-2, Blue Jays at 10-3. It should be a lot of fun. And then heading up to Kenosha. If you're in the Chicago area, head up there. It's a beautiful Saturday to watch some Titan basketball. Otherwise, catch it on the live stream. All the links are at iwsports.com. Good luck. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tommy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tommy.
We'll be back in a few minutes with Titan point guard Ava Bardic.
And time expires. Your 2000 CCIW Men's Lacrosse Tournament champions are the Titans of Illinois Wesleyan University.
Welcome back. Our final guest of the day is Titan sophomore guard Ava Bardic. Ava, welcome to Titan Table Talk for the first time. How are we doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. Excited to recap what was a fairly uneventful week for women's basketball. The off day on Saturday, and then, of course, a nice win against Wheaton on Wednesday. If we can, we've been struggling the last few minutes sitting here before we filmed to think back that far. Five whole days ago?
Yeah, about 5 days. It's been a while.
Mid-season brain, I think. At this point, but a 78-57 victory over the Thunder. One that, Wheaton hung around and stayed in the game for a while, but had a nice 10-point lead at the end of the first quarter. Lauren and Kate, 17 points apiece. Sawyer, 11, along with 6 steals. Mallory Powers continuing to be the force inside.
She's a rebound machine.
She and it's always been a good part of her game, but it feels like the last few weeks it's been otherworldly almost.
Oh yeah, she's really stepped up there. I mean, I looked at the scoreboard at like the first quarter, and she already had 9, and I was like, I have about 1. So it's really, really impressive.
I will give it. It's a little bit more of the natural part of her game, perhaps, than it is for you.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I had that same reaction. So for those who may be watching from afar who haven't been to the Shirk Center in the last year and a half or so, we just installed video boards right before basketball season 1.5 years ago, basically. And we'll usually throw the mid-game stats up sometime around end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, and that was the first thing I noticed when I looked up there. And
me too.
It'll jump out at you. At first you think, is this still last game up there? Has it flipped over? No. But take us through a little bit of that game. Wheaton down a little bit this year from where they've been sometimes, but a traditional big-time rival for the Titans, certainly over the last few years in the CCIW. Take us through that one from a team perspective.
Yeah, we did a lot of prep for Wheaton, and we played them earlier in the season, and we kind of came at them harder than we did this game, and our press was a really, really influential part of that game. That was that really put us ahead in the first time we played them. And so during our prep for the game on Wednesday last week, our main focus was our R&J and kind of pressuring their guards and getting in their handle. And Sawyer's really good at that, so we had Sawyer on their point guard. And so that was one of the main focuses for that game. And I think in the first quarter, in the beginning of the game, we kind of were off to a slow start, and we weren't getting as many steals as we wanted to. And they were finishing their layups. They were getting past us in transition, and we were moving a little slower than we wanted to. And Coach brought us in, and she always emphasizes just playing happy. She thinks that sometimes we kind of look a little down, and I think that that's normal. And she always just brings us right back up, and I think that that's something huge that she always does. And so she kind of brought us in and just reminded us of the game plan. They have Annie Tate. She's a great post player. She scores around 19 points a game, and she's a force, and it was tough. And I think that Lauren and Mal did a really good job getting in front of her, and that was another focus. We wanted to front the post and just know their personnel, and I think that was the biggest thing that game.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to see how they're going to try to attack the R&J the second time through the conference, in particular if there's a little bit of a different game plan that can come out against that. And it can catch you off guard in those first few minutes sometimes if there's a different plan.
Yeah, and that was definitely an adjustment we made, because most teams will kind of look back at the film and realize what we are doing. And at first, when you first play against it, it looks like chaos. And I think once you kind of rewatch it, it's just like, oh, this is what they're doing. And I think Coach really focuses on what she thinks they're going to do and then makes a different game plan. So we throw something different at our opponent. Yeah,
it's one of those aspects that's always interested me from the coaching perspective. Is that, I mean, Kent Madsen and Maya Smith have been coaching against each other for a long, long time. There's not necessarily a lot of surprises there. Coach game planning wise is what you're going to try to do. It's more, okay, how do you use your personnel that you have in that given year to attack a pretty unique defensive style that Maya Smith's teams are going to throw at you.
Right. And yeah, I mean, she talked about his coaching style and the stuff he's done in the past, and we focused on that also. So I think that it goes both ways. And yeah, it's a coaching choice, and I think she does a great job. Yeah, and
when you finish a game where it suddenly, maybe didn't feel as great about the press in the first few minutes, well, then allow 57 points and force 28 turnovers. Sawyer White shockingly leading the way with 6 steals.
What a surprise.
With a feather. I know. But for those keeping an eye on the little, the small print footnotes of this week, Sawyer just a couple steals away from tying Rebecca Erzman's all-time single-season record here at Illinois Wesleyan. It actually, I didn't think it was going to happen Wednesday. It did get to the point where when she had 2 or 3 in a row right there in like the early third quarter.
How far is she away?
I believe she's 3. If I remember this correctly, and this is not coming off my notes here. This is trying to remember back to last Wednesday. I believe Rebecca's record is 90, and then Sawyer had 81 coming into the game on Wednesday night, so she's got 87 right now. So it's 3 to tie.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's great to play with people like that. I'll tell you that.
And and we've hit on it a couple of times, this year if you watch some of these previous episodes. But it'll be something to keep an eye on this Wednesday or this Saturday up at Carthage. Likely to see that record fall. Hopefully with brother Brian there on the court as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, as she would tell you, small print, small potatoes compared to continuing to chug towards what's hopefully a CCW regular season championship here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But as you look ahead to this week, Titans have 2 games on the road coming up Wednesday at Elmhurst at 7, Saturday up at Carthage at 2 o'clock, and then finishing the regular season at home, North Park on Valentine's Day, 7 p.m., and then the 17th Senior Day against North Central at 2. And there was such, an emphasis from the outside perspective on those games with Carroll and Millikin in the middle of the CCW slate. Rightfully so. I mean, there's 3 teams that have battled it out at the top of the conference all year. There's sweeps to go around, so to speak, in different orders. But how do you guard against kind of looking ahead and going, okay, well, we've gotten through the toughest part of our schedule. We just need to win out the rest of the way. Well, that's not as easy as it sounds.
No. And I think that it's very easy to look past certain teams, but when you really look through the CCIW, for women's basketball, it is up, down, and you never really know what you're going to get from certain teams. And it's easy to look past certain people in certain teams, but coaches really emphasize not doing that. And after the Millikin and after the Carroll games, the Millikin games were really a wake-up call. And it was like, we're really going to have to step it up. And this is our chance to be able to host the tournament. And we can't host a tournament if we don't win these next, I don't know how many it was, 6 games, I think. Maybe 6, maybe 5. But she uses the term ramping up. So we ramp up our practices now. We've always worked hard, but we're working harder. And the whole team is working harder, not just the starting 5 or they're the first 7. Like, everybody is working as hard as they can, and we're making each other better. And we're not looking past these few teams. And we play Elmhurst next, and Elmhurst is a force, so you never know what you're going to get. And they play super fast, and you got to keep up. So you can't look past anybody. Everybody has wins, and everybody has losses that are surprising. So.
Yeah, and you think back to that first Elmhurst game, which was a CCIW opener on that Wednesday night, and that was breakneck speed for most of the game that was played at, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a little bit different to have to play that way sometimes when you're 4 weeks into your season than it is when you've got your legs under you a little bit more toward the end. Mm-hmm. But on a personal note, I just wanted to transition not quite off the court for a little bit, but talk to you a little bit about your journey over the last year. Obviously, making the decision, you weren't quite where you wanted to be last year as a freshman, and what ultimately helped you make your way to Illinois Wesleyan.
So, when I was a junior in high school, I was recruited by Illinois Wesleyan and Coach Smith and Coach B, and it was my top option. And then other things started to happen, and I took a different route. And I don't regret it. I think I learned a lot from where I was and what I've gone through. And I think that Wesleyan had always just been like, we're here, we're with open arms, we'll take you. And I really realized after my freshman year that I wanted a place that felt more like college and like a home. And the football team, like, that's a huge difference from my previous school. It just feels more like a home to me and more of a homey environment. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. And I'm also an hour closer to where I live, so that's also a benefit. My parents get to come to almost every game, and it's just a huge difference. And I really like it here. That's just where all it boils down to, I guess.
There you go. I mean, I grew up, 10 minutes from you, basically, and that 2 hour and 15-minute drive is not bad.
No,
it's pretty nice.
Not. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you feel like, obviously, I feel like from, not necessarily an outsider perspective, but someone who's not at practice every single day, when you watch your team play this year, when you watch practice, when you talk to the coaches, I mean, the word I would use is probably thrilled with how everybody's fit together on the court in particular, which it's an open question, obviously, coming into any season when you've got the number of talented guards that we have, both on the offensive and defensive end. How's everybody going to fit together, and how's everybody going to play together? You've probably got 3 starting point guards on the floor at any given time, which really does help running the R&J, and it helps facilitating the ball. But do you feel like it took you guys a little bit of time to mesh at the beginning of practice or at the beginning of the season, or it really came together pretty quickly?
It really was a surprise how well the pieces kind of fit together. I know it was a topic of conversation amongst the coaches if there would be enough shots to go around. And I think it's something to worry about. Mm-hmm. And I think that never was really a problem. I think that everybody kind of knows their role. And I think when I first came into the team, I personally didn't know my role, and the team really invited me in, and they made everything super, super easy. And we all have mutual respect for each other, and we know everybody's strengths. So there are 3-point guards on the floor, and that's how it is, but you have to know who's better at certain things and who is not as talented at certain things. Everybody has strengths and everybody has weaknesses. So it's kind of just a balance. And I think Coach does a good job with that. But we also do a good job knowing who should be handling the ball and who should have the ball at late game situation. So I think we've done a really good job balancing.
And when you look back at kind of that period in December and early January when not everybody was always healthy and on the floor together at the same time, and then you, at the beginning of the season, you've also got the factor of Sawyer working a way back, coming off soccer season for a little bit there. It felt like, as much as you don't want to be hurt, you don't want Lauren to be hurt, getting some of those different mixes on the floor and getting some of the other girls were going to play a lot, some chances do I have to be the number one today on defense, or the number one scoring option, whatever it may be, which I'm not used to being. It looks like when you sit there and watch everybody healthy and together now, it's a big confidence boost for a lot of people out there who kind of had to play that lead role and realize, oh, I'm good enough to do this. And we went up and won against Carroll without you and Lauren on the floor, and that's one of those big moments. I remember we had a meet that day. I was up at Carthage, but pulling up the live stats when I had 5 minutes at the beginning of the session and going, oh, that's cool. And none of those little moments that go like, oh, this could be something pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. And I think Lauren and I being out at the same time was really, at first I was like, oh gosh, like this could, like Lauren is 20 points in herself and way more than just the points also. So I was a little worried, and I know people were worried, but I think like Laura Malum, for example, she has stepped up. She's playing so well. And I've known Laura for a really long time, and I think she's playing her best basketball right now. And especially in the past few games, like she stepped up huge amounts. And I think that when we were out, that was really big. And I think Mal and Kate had those big moments where they were the go-to, and they got to be that. And I think now, like, the points are more distributed than they used to be. And I think that's been great for us. Like, it's not just one of us scoring 20 points and everybody else having 10. It's everybody having 15. And I think that's been a giant thing. And us both being out at the same time really, and that Carroll game, you brought that up, that was huge. That was just a pivotal moment. And I know that's most of our team's favorite game of the season, because it just was like everybody got a chance and everybody stepped up at the same time. So we just have a really deep team, and I think that those moments defined us that day. Yeah,
100%. I mean, it's a lot of good players on the floor, and a lot of players who have played together for a while and know how to do it, and it's fun to watch. So if you want to check out the Titans this week, unless you're in the Chicago area, you want to take a couple-hour drive, it is live stream for you. Once again, Titans are at Elmhurst, 7 o'clock tip on Wednesday night, and then up at Carthage at 2 p.m. on Saturday. But come on back out to the Shirk Center on the 14th and 17th for the last two home games of the regular season, as hopefully continue chugging towards hosting the conference tournament. A little ways to go, but good luck and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.